I'm so glad you could make it. Sit down, sit down. Oh, yeah. Oh, the band is gonna be awesome tonight. I dig it.
Hey, welcome back to Therapy Sessions. That's T.H.E Sessions. I'm your host, Auntie Hair Coach, and I interview regular people telling real stories about their beauty industry journey. I know that what we do is fun and perceived as glamorous, so it's through sheer audacity that professional stylists and barbers are creating industry disruption in their own unique ways. I've spoken with business owners, industry influencers, educators, innovators, and so much more. We share beauty industry tips, tricks, pitfalls, cheat codes, and everything in between just to remind you that you're not alone. With therapy sessions, it is my sincerest intention that by sharing our unique journeys with the world, beauty professionals will be empowered to discover your own uniqueness, which is where your true superpowers lie. So relax, get vulnerable, get inspired, hit that follow button, and be empowered to discover and share your own unique power to contribute to this amazing beauty industry that continues to challenge us all to keep learning, keep growing, and keep reaching for the highest version of ourselves. I'm Auntie Hair Coach, and this is Season 3 of Therapy Sessions.
I'm so glad you could make it.
Hey, welcome back to Therapy Sessions. That's T.H.E Sessions. I'm your host, Auntie Hair Coach, and I interview regular people telling real stories about their beauty industry journey. Today's guest is if understanding the assignment was a person, okay? She is a texture specialist, educator, salon owner, and author of Textured Styling Made Easy, the ebook. Lenise Robinson has entered the chat. Welcome to Therapy Sessions.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I met Lenise recently while working backstage at the Textured Hair Elevated Summit, where you were the project manager, and you did that, by the way.
Thank you.
But we'll get there. But first, I just like for my audience to know who they're dealing with. So just kind of tell us who you are, where you from, how'd you grow up, where are you located now? Who is Lenise Robinson?
Well, I am a 15-year veteran in the beauty industry, which sounds crazy to me, but um I am in Richmond, Virginia, born in New Jersey, but raised here all of my life since I was a baby. Um and I'm 45, so I guess I'm hitting midlife. I haven't hit a crisis yet, but who knows?
Yeah,
I'm not claiming it.
yeah.
I have a son. He's 22. He'll be 23 in 17 days.
Oh,
And that's my first baby. And then my salon parlor. So parlor has been open since 2016. Um, I owned a couple of businesses before that. And this is a second career. So I started out in the corporate world for many years since I was 14, and I didn't leave the corporate world until 35. So a pretty extensive career before taking on the beauty industry full time. So that's
okay.
a little bit about me. I'm also a veteran. Um, my sister likes to say that I forget to mention her, so I have a twin sister. Her name is Denise. Um, and that's it. Some nephews, couple nieces, all that.
Okay. So a couple questions there. What were you doing corporately before you decided to be a hairstylist?
Oh man, it's gonna be real nerdy. So I tested software for a medical services company, or they distributed medical supplies. And so I tested the software that was in the warehouses. So I had to travel a lot for that job. And that really helped me to help push me out the door because although I love traveling, I was working in the salon part time at that
Mhm.
time. So it was, I might be gone for a week to 3 weeks at a time testing software in a warehouse across the country. Meanwhile, my clients are like, when you coming back? so yeah, I tested software. So I was in IT for a few years before leaving the corporate world.
Okay. And then you were a veteran. I was actually going to ask you that because you give military discipline. What branch were you in?
I hear that a lot. Army, I was in the Army. My mom is also a retired veteran. So we grew up
Okay.
with a lot of discipline and
Yes.
structure at
Yes.
home. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a military kid as well.
Okay.
Okay. So did you always want to be a hairstylist?
Not always. I did love the idea of owning a business, and I just kind of enjoyed, I remember as a kid enjoying the salon experience. Now, let me clarify because I am very tender-headed, so I did not like getting my hair done. But I enjoyed just being in the salon environment, watching women like come in a mess and not sometimes not even knowing like what their hair was capable of. So I enjoyed the relationship between the stylist and the client, and just I just people watched the entire time I sat in the salon. So it
Mhm.
always intrigued me. So I always knew I wanted to be a business owner in the beauty industry. Didn't necessarily know that I wanted to do hair. Even thinking about doing hair, I knew that I didn't want to do it forever.
Okay. And so at what point did you decide? Because now you've got a corporate job, you're traveling for work, which, a lot of people feel like traveling for work is glamorous, you're corporate. What made you decide to go to cosmetology school?
Well, I was deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom. And so, I was sitting in the middle of Baghdad, and you can hear rockets flying over your head, and you see things be exploded, and people are dying inside of buildings, and you have all of that going on. Your bucket list becomes priority. So for
Mm.
me, my one of my bucket list items was to go to cosmetology school. So I did that. It was shave off my hair, go to Africa, and um, go to cosmetology school. So I did all three, and almost
Yes.
around the same time.
Yes. That's
So,
awesome. Where'd you go in
so
Africa?
I went to Ghana. My best friend is her family is from Ghana, so we went. It was actually her first time going back, and then it was like our 10-year friendship thing. So I went.
Beautiful. Love
Yep.
it. That's a dream for me as well.
hmm
Okay, so you get to cosmetology school. Were you a natural or did you have to work at it?
Oh God, no! I was horrible. I was horrible. The best thing I could do was perm rods. That was my thing. Everybody sent me their perm rods.
Okay.
Um, but no, I mean, even going into the salon after school, I was terrible. But I was older than everybody else. So by that time I was, I think, 27. And so they kind of looked to me as a leader. So it was very interesting, a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah. And did you get textured hair education in cosmetology school?
Oh no, not at all.
Not at
Not at
all.
all. My sister and I, though, so just to give you some background. So my grandmother did hair on the side, like in the projects. She had her full-time job, but she did hair in the around the way. And so my mom, who is the only girl of five kids, she would like experiment with my mom's hair. So then my mom would experiment with me and my sister's hair. And so growing up, it was the same for us. Like we would experiment. I was doing everybody's hair, my friends. And so by the time I went to cosmetology school, I kind of had a little bit of experience working with different people's hair, um, textured hair. So it was helpful, but I still couldn't really, I couldn't do hair for real. It was terrible.
Okay, so then you get out of school, and if I'm understanding, you had a mentor that kind of walked you over to a particular salon and they hired you.
Yes. So I graduated. I was in my kitchen. I hated it. But after coming home from serving, I I think that's when I just kind of became a little bit more introverted. So I didn't want to go like talk to people and go introduce, like that's just not my thing. So she walked me over And it was a salon she was working in at the time. And she walked me over to the salon. And I knew of this lady because, like, she was well known in the city for doing hair, owning a salon. And her salon was like doing all these major things before her time. And I talked to her, and she was amazing. And she asked me when I wanted to start, which I didn't expect. And I wasn't really prepared for.
Hmm.
But, the opportunity presented itself. So I was all over it. And the salon that I started in was very much it was a team-based salon. Like, there were stations, it was booth rent, but she was heavy on entrepreneurship. So we all had to have our own business name, our own business license. We had to do everything you need to do to set up a business to work in the salon. So it was a really good start to my career as an entrepreneur.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Is she still
Oh,
in
she's still
business?
around. Yeah, she's still
Yes,
around. Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay, so you shared that you were a mess when you graduated, and I think you referred to yourself as the weakest link in your salon. So I have two
Yeah.
questions about that. The
hmm
first is, did you know that about yourself at the time, or was this a realization in hindsight? And then the
No, I
second
knew.
question, you okay,
Go ahead. I'm
okay,
gonna let you finish.
okay. And then the second question is, how did you overcome that?
I definitely knew. I mean, even now, I feel like I'm not the best hairstylist. Like, I'm very clear about my skill set. I wasn't one of those people doing hair since I was 4 years old. I never got to assist, and I think that hindered me a lot. I just went straight into a salon.
Mm,
Whereas my peers, they pretty much this is all they did. So, no, I absolutely knew I was horrible.
mm.
They used to come to me in the salon like this. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Yes.
But they were so helpful. So
Yes.
I got to a place in my career where I could afford to take classes. I mean, I think to some degree you can always afford to take classes. You just have to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah.
Someone once said to me, don't think of 10 reasons why you can't do it. Think of 10 ways that you can make it happen. So that was a mind shift for me. So I just started taking class after class after class and just practice, 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 watching other people, asking questions and being open to learning, and just making mistakes that had me in tears sometimes, and just learning from those mistakes. So that's pretty much how I got better.
Yes. And I love what you said about, because this is something that I talk a lot with younger stylists about. I love what you said about like being clear about your skill set. I actually just did a class last week, and I was telling the girls, like, for me, I consider my stylist skills to be mediocre compared to things that I see online. I'm
hmm
clear that my skill set is in customer service. And so I love that you say your beauty philosophy is to remember that this is the service industry first. Because I always say
Yes.
you can do hair well enough and still be mad successful if your intrapersonal skills are on point. So,
Yeah.
kind of share a little bit about your philosophy in terms of the service industry and that.
So I mean I'm a firm believer in the at the core of what we do is serving people. So a lot of times when you hear the complaints online and what the new stylists do or don't do, a lot of it is because we've gotten away from the aspect of serving. And so when you realize that you're serving and that the priority here is making sure that your client or your guest is taken care of, a lot of the little things will just fall into place. For example, like things like greeting your clients by their name. You know what I mean? Things like that, returning phone calls, um, not just ignoring messages or whatever the case may be. Just remembering those little things. Those little things are what get you your tips. The little
Mhm.
things what will allow you to raise your prices. Yes, you can do great hair, But if you can't serve people and make people feel welcome, and we know that just historically, the salon is such a sacred space, right? Especially for Black women, it's such a sacred space. And so if we don't provide that safe space, then your clients are easily going to go elsewhere. They may come to you for a while, but when one thing shifts in their life or one thing shifts with your business, they'll leave. Versus if you make sure that your guests are your priority and they feel special, they feel seen, they feel heard, things could shift in their life. And I hear this from my clients all the time. Like, I can't necessarily afford it right now, but I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna be back. Oh no, I didn't. You don't see them for a long time. Well, have you had it? Have you had your hair cut? No, I didn't go anywhere else. I was just waiting to come back here. You'll hear those things. And so I just really believe we have to get back to making sure that service is top priority.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like as a military person, you'll get this. The running, like being on time and being respectful
Oof.
of your client's time. Um, so I always say, you go to the doctor and if they make you wait 15, 20, 30 minutes for your doctor's appointment, you're annoyed, you feel disrespected. It's the same thing when it's your hair, you know.
Ooh. My salon mates and my clients, like, I probably annoy most of them, to be honest, because I am such a stickler for being on time. Because I feel like, and I try not to project this onto other people, but that is one of the biggest forms of disrespect, when you waste my time, right? When you have me sitting here waiting, it's disrespectful to me. So, my clients know when they come in late, they will come in there scurrying across the floor like, I'm coming, I'm here, because they know you gonna get fussed at. You come in here
Mhm,
late, you gonna get fussed at.
mhm,
In love, in love.
mhm.
But no, my clients, and because I have set that standard, my clients know to show up on time. A lot of them just come early,
Yes,
because usually I'm waiting on them to arrive anyway.
yes, yep, love it.
But again, those are the things that get you tips.
Mhm.
People appreciate when you respect their time. And I always look at it like, for my life is planned. Like my day, I usually already know 2 to 3 things that I'm doing after work for that day. And so I think I feel the same way for my clients. Like, they got to have other stuff. They can't afford to be sitting in the salon all day. So I try to make it as efficient as possible.
Yes, yes. Now, you've been doing a series on your Instagram called Cosmetology Chronicles,
Hmm.
and you recently revealed that you almost lost your house.
Yes.
Take us through that journey.
Woo. That was a time. I was just the dumbest. um, I left my job. I kept saying I'm gonna leave by 35. I'm gonna leave by 35. And so 35 came and I was still working. And I was like, all right, Lenise, what happened was I had a teammate, I had a really small team at work. I think there were about 5 of us. And one of them, she started this like crazy cough in, I'm gonna get the months wrong, but let's just say like September, she was hacking, like you could hear her across the office. And then by April, she was gone. Like she passed away.
Oh my God.
And so that it was during the time when I was 35, and work was her life. Like, she had no children, her parents were older. She would be at work before I came in, and I would come in like 8 o'clock in the morning. She would be at work already because she didn't have internet at home. So she would just come to work and she would be there after I left, right? Work was everything. And I was like, man, this can't be life. Like, this cannot be life. And we say life is short, and it's very cliche. Excuse me, but it's so true. And so she really helped me to see that, unfortunately. She really helped me to see that. My son at the time was going into high school, I think. And I also just didn't want him to, I just wanted him to have an example of, listen, you can have a passion and you can be you can pursue it and be successful at it and make a living. And so I left. But I had, I borrowed from my 401k So it would come from me. And if I couldn't pay myself back, I just couldn't pay myself back.
Mm-hmm.
But I coasted. Like I said, I had been working since 14, so I was like, I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
I used to call the salon and be like, hey y'all, if somebody calls the salon and they need their hair done, just call me and I'll come. Like, stupid. I mean, just
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah.
And anytime you change salons, because at this time I moved from the first salon that I started in to co-owning the salon with my mentor.
Okay.
And so when I moved, yeah, I thought my clients were coming. Every time you move salons, you lose people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was dry. It was dry boots.
Yeah.
But that letter came. Actually, what happened was, so this is actually what happened. I had a financial advisor at the time, and he said that the mortgage company is not going to help you unless you just like don't make payments for a while, and then they'll be more inclined to help you, which made sense at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait it out a little bit, and then I'm gonna ask for help. And Bank of America was like, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. No. So the next thing I know, I started getting the letters, telling me that I was facing foreclosure, blah blah blah. And then my mom also at the time, when you leave a job, especially if you have our parents worked their whole life, right, and retired, so that's all they know. So when you go and take a risk like that, they don't really understand it. I didn't expect her to. She was like, "I this is a sinking ship. I'm not bailing you out anymore." And I knew at that moment, like, I'm gonna take this bailout, but I can't talk to her about what I'm doing anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
my sister, um, oddly enough, my sister called my mom and was like, "You don't know what it's like to take that kind of risk. We're not entrepreneurs, and we need to support her." Like my sister turned into the mom.
Yeah.
So, so my mom bailed me out. Thank God. I mean, I don't know what I would have done without her. Um, she bailed me out, and then I was like, all right, this is crazy. Lenise, you've never been here. We are not getting back here again. And I left that letter right on my nightstand so I could see it every single day. And then
Yeah.
I just started like grinding, and the day after she bailed me out, the foreclosure letter came in the mail. I was like, damn, I was really like one day one day late. If I had been one day late, I would have been out of my house.
Wow.
So yeah, it lit a fire. It lit a
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
So I just got moving and started coming up with ways to like just get my name out there. And I have, business on it. Richmond is small, so I have a lot of friends here who own businesses and put on events. And so they allow me to beauty sponsor their events, just to get my logo in front of people. And then these two girls who were doing all of these natural hair events around the city, they reached out and asked me to come and do a segment at one of they would do like brunches and vendor based events. And so I did, and it was such a good partnership that they continued to do events around the city, and then they would always bring me on to do a segment on healthy hair and products and all kinds of things. And then I became an ambassador for another local brand here. Um, she's based locally, but her products are everywhere. But Adiva Naturals, one of my really good girlfriends, and we did a lot of festivals and shows and traveling to do things. We eventually did Essence one year, which was amazing.
What?
Um, yeah, so it was go time, and I was like, you just gonna have to do what you got to do, do it tired.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I
Mm-hmm.
did.
Yes. Sitting around and waiting for clients to discover you is crazy.
That's not it. Yeah. Yeah, it was not. And social media really wasn't what it is today at that time. So
Yeah.
I didn't even have that to heavily rely on. It was coming around, but it wasn't what it is today.
Okay, so tell us about the summit. Um,
Oh,
I loved your energy when I met you. I was telling my husband when I came home, I'm like, his like favorite cousin energy is what I got from you. So tell us how
good.
you became involved and like what were your responsibilities as project manager, and then what were your takeaways when it was all over with and you like have you even come down from the high of it yet? Because that
I mean,
The
yesterday.
vibe there is singing. Huh?
I said probably yesterday. I came down yesterday.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so it's kind of a long story. So I eventually left that salon where I was partnered with my mentor at the time and opened my own salon suite. And I just continued to build and take classes and just do things to get my name out. Because at that time, I became my own brand. So completely separate from the salon we had created. Now it was my own brand, and I needed to brand myself as just my own individual salon, which is Parlor. And so during that time, I took I took a trichology class from Evie Johnson, and Evie was at the summit. And so, and I had taken a class or two from her before. We run into each other behind the chair, and there was this girl in the class with me, and one day she tagged me on a post on Instagram, and it said that Mazzani was looking for educators, and I was like, okay. She was like, you should do this. Now, mind you, I really don't know this girl this well. Like we were in a 3-day class together, and she sat next to me. So it was, I just believe things happen as they should on purpose. And so I went and read the requirements, and it said you have to like make what did it say? You have to post your you have to submit your three pictures of your best work, resume, I think, and then you have to do a 2-minute video training on anything. And I was like, no, I'm not doing a video. Like I'm not getting in front of a camera. No.
Yeah.
So then one day, like a couple months passed, and I was like, well, let me look at this opportunity again. And I went and looked at it again, and same thing. I was like, oh, this is why I didn't do it. And then one day I did a post about a product from Mazzani that I had tried. And one of the girls in the comments, who was a Mazzani artist at the time, we ended up following each other because we were at the same event. She was like, you should really apply for the job. And we still need artists. And I was like, well, the deadline already passed. So like, she was like, no, we extended it. So I waited till like the night that the deadline was, and I got home. I didn't even know what I was gonna do, but I had like some avocados, and I was like, okay, how to peel avocados successfully. So I did the stupid video on that and submitted it,
Mm,
and lo and behold, they called. So one of the things I always like to call out, especially because I work with a lot of younger stylists and students, is you never know who's watching. Like you literally never know who's taking notice of you, even from the smallest thing. And so what happened was I didn't hear back from them. So I'm like, okay, well, it said I would move to the second round, but then I never heard anything.
okay.
And then one day at work, Evie called me through Instagram, and I was like, okay. So I answered, and she was like, anybody who knows Evie knows she'll hit you with the, hey, love. So I was like, hey. She said, we've been trying to reach you, but we haven't been able to contact you. And I know that's not like you. And I'm like, first of all, I'm like, she knows my name. And then, yeah, it's definitely not like me. So
Yeah.
she said, yeah, I didn't think so, because you pretty much be on top of your stuff. So
Mm,
she said, I don't know what happened, why I wasn't getting their communication, but she set me up for an interview with her and Tippy. And then they hired me. So I became a Mazzani artist. That was
mm.
2020, the top of 2020.
Oh, sheesh.
And so I had met Tippy, and I also went to Tippy's her first event, the Texture Beauty Jam in New York. So I met
Okay.
Evie, met Tippy. Pakila was one of my trainers when I started. And then when I joined the team, Kalani was already a Mazzani artist. So I kind of
Okay.
had, connections to the 3 women who started the summit.
I got you.
Mazzani was interesting. Ended up not necessarily being the best fit for me at the time. So 3 years later, um, I left. So January was my last 2 classes with Mazzani. But when I left, Tippy said, she called and she said, now let me back up. So the first in-person summit was last year. So I went and loved it. And I was like, hey, I want to be on the team next year. Whatever y'all are doing, I want to be a part of it. So
Yes.
when I left Mazzani, she said, hey, Lenise, I know that you like structure, but can you deliver it? And I was like, absolutely. Like, yeah, absolutely. So, so they brought me on board to help with the project, and to be honest, it was kind of all over the place, which I expected, which is why they asked me for help, right?
Sure.
But it was such an amazing experience. The opportunity itself just you know it was kind of unreal because I get to work with people who I look up to. It's
Mhm.
like if you're a singer and you love
Mhm.
Beyonce and you get to work with Beyonce. Like it's
Yeah.
like that for me. So
Yes.
um love them dearly. And just being able to see the show from backstage, see the behind the scenes, be able to connect the brands and work with them to make sure everything we needed, we got, make sure things were kind of buttoned up. The takeaway I have is that there are so many shows out, and I'm gonna compare the summit to Behind the Chair because in my mind that's where we want to go, but they have so much funding, a huge team behind them. We are a small team of Black women. But
Mhm.
when I say we got things done, like we
Mhm.
really got things done. And so I'm
Mhm.
so proud of that. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of myself for being able to pull it off and just prove to myself that yes, you are really anal about structure and organization, but you really can deliver it. So
Yeah.
that's what I took away from it. We had so much help. Thank you, because
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
needed you. So there was a larger team, during the event, but leading up to it, it really is just a small team of there's three who founded it, and then there was me, and then um, Kay, who did the social media work,
Mhm.
and among other things. Like we just kind of jumped in where we were needed. So really, excuse me, really like five of us getting this done. Um, so I'm super proud of us.
Amazing. Y'all did that. It's such a magical show. And I agree.
Hmm.
I see it headed towards where Behind the Chair is, but just like Behind the Chair has been, I remember when Behind the Chair was a magazine. So
Yeah,
they've had the time to grow into that, right? And this is
exactly.
still so new. What is that? Was that like number 3?
That was
If you
four.
include the
The
texture jam? Okay.
the
Yeah.
first two were virtual. They started during COVID.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the fourth one. So we
Yeah.
have 2 years in person,
Yeah.
which is very different from putting on a virtual event. Like there's so much more logistics involved when you do it in person. So we have so much room to grow. It is such a magical feeling, but now we just got to get the word out. We got to make sure that we're
Mhm.
pushing to get the word out. So we have some wrap up things. I have my list of recommendations and things where I can help more that I'm going to share with the team. But it was an amazing experience. They loved my work. I enjoyed it, so I see it being a great partnership going forward.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I want to go back to what you said about Mazzani. So you became a Mazzani educator at the top of 2020,
Hmm.
and then the whole world shuts down.
Yes.
What happens at that point?
So the beauty jam, I think, was in, I want to say February
Okay.
in New York, and I actually got my offer letter while I was at the beauty jam.
Wow. Okay.
So new artist training was in March, and this time apparently it had been in other places before, but it was in Maryland, which is right up the street from me. Again,
Mhm.
I'm in Virginia, so it was driving distance.
Mhm.
It was 3 days, I think, 2 or 3 days, and so I drove up, and I mean, it was just, the energy was amazing. It was so refreshing to be in a room of people who are looking to do the same thing you're doing.
Yeah.
We have the same language. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yes.
And then that was in March. So like that was mid-March. And then by the end of March we were shut down. So we also had, so Mazzani also does an annual summit for their artists, which is why they brought their artists to this summit. This was their summit this year. Our
Okay.
summit was supposed to be in April. So
Okay.
I had booked my flight. I was ready to go. Summit was canceled. Everything was canceled. But Mazzani continued with um, our virtual education for new artists. So we were taking a lot of virtual classes, and to some degree, we had an advantage because virtual education really wasn't a thing
Mm,
before COVID. So we actually had to learn virtual education before we learned in-person education, facilitation. So it was a blessing. Um,
mhm.
but it was a lot because I was still taking my own classes. Like I was still taking classes for myself, which is why I now need these because I was on computers all day. I mean, I would be on the
Mhm.
computer all day and wake up the next day and everything would be a blur.
Yeah.
So I realized, not long after, like, let me wear these glasses.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, so yeah, it was just a lot of virtual education. I mean, I think I was virtual out at one point, and I told the team, I was like, guys, I can't sit in another like
Yeah.
3 4 hour class. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we continue with that, and then when things started to open back up, I ended up getting fast tracked through a lot of the facilitation training. So I was gone, like I was traveling almost immediately. I was traveling, and then I would travel maybe like every other weekend to go and facilitate at a school or a salon or do some sort of event. Um, I remember recording at the Regis headquarters in Minnesota. I think it was Minnesota.
Mhm.
Um, so like I was really, really busy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about your book, your ebook.
Ooh. So my book really I just wanted something that, to be honest, I just wanted some passive income. But
Mhm.
really, really
Mhm.
what I wanted to do was address the questions that I get most often. And there are questions that I get most often from not just clients, but also the facilitators or the educators that I would teach, or the stylists that I would teach, the salon owners that I would teach to. They all kind of had the same questions because I didn't teach to a lot of salons that catered to texture. I taught to a lot of salons that catered to straight hair who wanted to be able to support their textured guests. So
Mhm.
I wanted to make it as simple as possible so that if you were a stylist or you were a client, you could understand it. And I also wanted to make sure that you could go and purchase everything I bring up in the book. So when you download the book, everything has a live link to it. Everything from the
Mhm.
tools to the products to whatever it is, there's a live link for you to be able to go and purchase that item. So I just thought through everything that I've been asked and what I would want to know from a client perspective, and I tried to include that in the book. So it goes through some basic styling techniques, it goes through some basic products, and then my favorite tools that I like to use. So it was fun. It was a lot of work, a lot of late nights trying to edit stuff, and like I'm not a
Yeah.
writer, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but it was fun. It was fun.
Did you self-publish?
Oh yeah. I just yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
on. I did it like on Canva.
I love it.
And
That's
then
so
my
awesome.
son, for was it Mother's Day? I don't know if it was Mother's Day or I think it was my birthday. He actually had a hard copy made for me. So I keep it in my bedroom. I know.
That's so
He's so
awesome.
sweet sometimes.
That's I know. I have two children. I have my son just turned 30.
Mm.
Um, so I know all about them boys.
Woo,
Yes,
gotta love
yes, really, truly. All right, so we've reached the point of the episode. I call it Story Time with Auntie Hair Coach. So I have
Okay.
3 prompts for you. You're just going to tell us a story or give us some insight, just whatever your thoughts are on the prompts.
Okay.
The first one is tell us about a time you messed up someone's hair.
Mm. I might cry.
It is therapy
um.
sessions after all.
Oof. So I had left my first salon, still couldn't do hair. And we had our grand, she already had the salon for 3.5 years. So when I moved over, we just basically rebranded and reopened. And so we did this event, like this grand reopening event, rebranding, and we had all these people come. And it was really a lot of people that I had like known, or I posted about, or, people that were following me, because she was already there. She was already in business. So it was really about my new thing, right? And so we offered discounts. If you booked an appointment at the event, you got a discount. So I booked this girl to do color, this brand new girl. I never saw her a day in my life. She booked this appointment. She comes in and she wants to go blonde and whatever. I don't know. I think she just wanted to go blonde. So I just start coloring her hair. No test, no nothing, no consultation. It was like 2 sentences. And I started lifting that hair and it started turning red and orange. And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And I couldn't do color. I couldn't even do regular stuff well. So certainly a corrective color was beyond my comprehension.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And it was her birthday weekend, and she was having dinner with friends, and it
Oh,
was so bad that I had to have her come back the next day so I could just get her to a point where she could wear it. So I ended up making her red, but it was horrible. It was
oh,
horrible. And I went home in tears. And my mentor at the time, she was like, "Well, did you do it? Did you do a strand test?" And I was like, "No." She said, "Well, lesson learned,
yes.
it happens to the best of us. Here's what you're gonna do."
Yeah.
And so I went back and I just made her red, and I apologized. I couldn't charge her, but it just, whew, it damaged my confidence for quite some time. And I was like, I'm never doing color.
Yeah. Do you do color now?
Absolutely. That's all I want to do now. That's all I
Yes.
want to do. But
Yes.
that's
Once you
that's
conquer it,
after, yes, it's after class after class after class, and years of classes, and
yes.
going to the best and really
Yes.
investing in my education around color. That's what that comes from.
Yes. Yes. But once you conquer it, it's so magical.
It
I love
is.
it.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The second prompt is tell us a story about your journey as an educator, or advice you would give to educators as a whole.
So my journey as an educator, honestly, it started behind the chair. Like I was just always big on talking my client through everything I was doing, because it doesn't just teach them, it also taught me. And so doing that, and then I started my twist and talk class, which is where I taught clients how to twist their own hair. And they will always be like, "You're so patient," which I'm not in real life. So it was weird to me that that was the
Because you're
feedback.
paying me.
But okay, that is an aspect of it. Um, but but I just really believe, like, this is a partnership. So if you
Mm,
don't know what I'm doing, especially if you leave me and go to somebody else and you can't tell them what we did or explain, I just hate it when people would come to me and be like, "Yeah, I got relaxers. Well, what did she use?" I don't know, but it's a chemical going into on your scalp. Like, you don't
mm,
know. And so I was just really big on educating my client from the chair. And
yes.
then I started my class and it was fun. Like I enjoyed it. And then when I started with Mazzani, I didn't realize, when you're just doing it yourself, you don't realize, you don't know whether you're good or bad, or you don't know. And so
Hmm.
once I started it, I got so much good feedback. And it came easy to me. It came natural to me because I'm naturally curious.
Hmm.
And so it's been a journey. Like I would love to teach more now. It's easier having the backing of a brand because they push you opportunities versus you having to go after it. And at 45, I don't necessarily want to work hard.
Hmm.
So the advice though that I would give is, just because you can do a thing well does not mean you can teach it. And so if you are interested in education and facilitation, I strongly suggest you invest in facilitation training, because you could be doing a lot of people a disservice trying to just tell them what you know. You can be a beast at something, but if you can't put those put that thing into terms that people can understand and be able to take back tangible information, you're doing people a disservice. So
Amen.
invest in facilitation training.
Amen. What's the best industry advice you've ever gotten?
The best advice I've ever gotten would have to be we talked about this before, saying, especially early on, saying I can't afford that, and like talking yourself out of things when maybe you don't get Starbucks today for the next 30 days. Maybe that's your first virtual class. But instead of talking myself out of things, really changing my mindset to how am I going to make that happen. And so with that advice, the way that I built onto that was every year I would set an expectation and set a goal for my business. This year we're going to focus on trichology. All of my education would be around trichology. This year we're going to focus on color. All of my education, whatever I invested in, was around color. This year we're going to focus on business. So let me invest in business classes and how to make sure my business is set up correctly. And really starting off, making sure you know your why, because your why is going to drive any kind of decision you make, but always make sure you're going back to that why before you make major business decisions.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I think
That's so good.
yeah.
So we're winding down. We're almost done
Mhm.
here. I want you to think about, and Lenise was not a baby when she graduated cosmetology school. Lenise was a grown
Mm-mm.
woman with some life experience, right?
With an
If you
ex-husband
could,
and a baby
a whole ex-husband and a
and a
baby
mortgage.
and a mortgage,
Yes.
right? If you could go back and talk to Lenise, you're fresh out of beauty school, you're just getting ready to start your career. If you could go back and talk to that Lenise, what would you tell her?
Fresh out of beauty school, go be somebody's assistant. Girl, stop thinking
Mm,
you can just jump behind a chair. Go be an assistant for a while.
yes, yes,
That's the first thing
yes.
I would tell her. But even before fresh out of beauty school, I would tell her, don't be like life is short. Don't be afraid to just go for it. You have support, figure it out.
Yes,
That's what I would tell her. Don't be so fearful. You have a supportive family. Just go after it.
so
Yeah.
good. How can the audience follow your movement?
They can follow me at I'm generally on Instagram. Listen, I'm at that age. I'm only keeping up with one social media
I
platform.
know
I'm
that's
not
right.
doing all the things. I
All
tried
the,
TikTok. I just can't keep up with multiple things.
yeah.
So
It's a lot.
I am generally on Instagram at Parlor RVA, which is PARLOUR RVA. And then my website is linked in my bio. I don't update my website like I should.
Mm,
But I will say I'm doing Cosmetology Chronicles. We're leading up to what we hope to be a big announcement. We still kind of in the process, but I am looking at now building, because I'm ready to retire. So just building out a bigger salon space that has some suites in it. So that's what I'm working towards right now. That's my
yes,
big to do.
yes,
So that's what I'm hoping the Cosmetology Chronicles will lead to. But
yes.
yeah, follow me on Instagram at Parlor RVA, Parlor with a U. And I stay pretty active on there. I try to
Mhm.
stay active as much as possible. There are times when I get quiet just because I just don't feel like it. But I do my best. I do my best.
It'll be all right. It will be okay.
Yeah.
I can't even subscribe to the constantly. I post when I feel like it. I don't when I don't, and that's just gonna have to be good enough.
Yes, I try to commit to one post
Yes,
a day. But then there's
yes,
times where I just don't.
yeah.
I just don't.
Word.
Life is happening around me and I want to be present for it. So
Amen.
sometimes I just don't.
That part. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me, Lenise. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you for asking and having me and seeing it in me, because we literally just met. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. All right. Thanks so much for listening. If you're a beauty pro with a story to tell, or you have a stylist you'd like to hear from, you can DM me via IG at Auntie Hair Coach, or use the Contact Me form on tasha-davis.com. Or if you're feeling really spicy, send an audio message in Spotify. Whether you loved it or hated it, please leave a rating, like, and or follow, because it does something fancy with the algorithm. I'm Auntie Hair Coach. Ta-ta for now.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you could make it.